look at his head and face. And right from the beginning, you can see that he looks a little far up. Ideally, we would want to have him look slightly down, instead of where he is closer to it is up here. I would suggest, you want to keep your vision 10 to 12 yards in front of you, or about 3 to 4 meters in front of you, which will help with a good forward lean and good posture positioning. Keeping your head up creates you to go too far back. And then when we look at where your feet land, you can see you put brakes on when you want to be landing on the midfoot or forefoot rather than the heel. Again, if all you have to do is just slightly lean a little bit farther forward, and your positioning will be good. Here we're dealing with the torso posture, and we want to measure the forward lean. Ideally, you want to be in the 5 to 9 degree position, and we either look at it at the toe off or the flat-footed position, the point at the bottom of your running. And I'm using your right leg here because it's closest to the camera. Remember, you want to keep envisioning yourself like you have a rope going through your spine, and then you just want to, walk tall. You don't want to look down, you look back. I know we talked about this before regarding bending from the ankles rather than from the waist, and you can see that you're actually leaning forward, and I think that's why your head comes back a little bit, because your body is trying to not kind of lose its balance per se. So you want to push more off with the front of your foot, shorten your stride a little bit, but make sure you're leaning a little bit farther forward, like we had talked about it at the track practice that we had recently. Here we're dealing with the arms as well as the hands and the hand placement. I'll start with your hands, just quickly looking at it, and I will zoom in for you. You can kind of see your hands look very relaxed. Make sure that you feel like you're holding potato chips in between your thumb and your pointer finger, and then you want to almost feel like you're gripping a roll of dimes or quarters or something in the middle of your hand. Make sure it stays relaxed, but overall your hand placement looks good. Then we look into your arms. Ideally, the range you want to see is 80 to 90 degrees. And you're almost there. You hit around 70, 69 degrees, 65, and you really close up. But make sure you're staying at the 90 degrees. I would almost suggest that you want to almost drop your hands a lot. That feels like you're at 100 to 110 degrees, because you might end up being at the 90 degree mark. So again, when I talked about swinging your arms, forcefully swinging your arms almost like you're punching, but make sure that 90 degree angle, 80 to 90 degree angle stays efficient. Just to kind of tips for you, you want your arms to travel up to your chest and down to your hips, like you're reaching your hand into your pocket to try and find your keys. The arms help drive the legs, which is helpful for running up a hill and sprinting. For you, running on track, swinging the arms is really going to help. Remember, lead with your arms, and it may sound forceful saying that, but the harder and faster that you're going to be swinging your arms is the faster your legs will move. Quickly want to mention bouncing and vertical distance, and you don't have too much. The angle of the camera doesn't really help so much on this shot and the part of we're looking at your running form, but I do want to notice or let you know about bouncing and vertical distance, especially for a 2-mile run test. Bouncing is more important for people that are doing marathons, because a few inches here and there equals, a couple 100 feet over an entire race. For you, it might be a few inches here and there, but you can see the lines. This is the bottom of your running stroke on your right foot, and then your hip raises that much higher. Now, to me, I think that looks like a good 3 inches or so, which means that for every step, you're almost climbing 3 inches, if you think about it, rather than driving forward. And again, you can see your right foot again, or left foot rather, and it's coming down with the heel rather than the actual forefoot. And again, you're stopping yourself because you're going too high. So rather than focus on climbing and bouncing, focus on driving yourself forward, leading with your knee and not with your feet, and letting it drag behind you. this is dealing with your knee position. Now I've got a few lines drawn on it, and there's a lot of good things, a lot of things that need to be changed or corrected in this. First, we'll start with the good stuff. You lead with your knees, which is great. You lead with your thighs, and that's great running form. And you can see your knees, like right there, want to be around a 90-degree angle. You're at 84 roughly. I wouldn't change that at all. It's not like you're lagging behind you or in front of you. Now, the one issue is where you land, which is behind. Now, we look at your knee, if it would go forward. So here we come forward, and I measured it, right, your hip down to your knee where you land. When you first contact the ground, you're around 35 degrees. Now, that would change when you are a little bit underneath you, but you want to land with your foot around 20 degrees. So we're a little bit farther forward, which means, again, you're landing with your heel. And if you look closely at your foot, see if I can zoom in on that, you can see how much it collapses. When it comes down, it rotates. So if you actually look at the tread on your shoe, you'll notice that the right side of it, the outside of the running tread, is wearing before the other side. It just means that you have a little instability in your running form. You need stronger ankles. Again, that comes with just not having enough experience running, coached running. But I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Some people have that problem. Again, your knees, leading with your knees, it looks great. Just make sure you work on trying to have your foot land underneath you. It's not like I'm seeing 40 or 50 degrees in front of you, because you're not completely stopping yourself. But again, lead a little bit farther forward, not from the waist, that would be bending, but leaning with the front of your toes. The last part of your running form, I just want to compliment, because it's something I rarely see for athletes to do. And I think that's come with your boxing and Muay Thai experience, but your rear extension of your leg, which is, again, the rear movement of the leg, the ideal range is 24 to 30. We measure this at the toe-off position. So we're roughly there. As you can see, the toe position, you're at 29 degrees. Again, that's perfect. Again, if you're less than that, which means you're going to be getting too vertical and you have tight hip flexors, again, that can also mean for the higher range too. So make sure that you are still continuing to stretch like we've talked about before, and you're not bouncing too much. But the rear extension of your leg looks pretty good. Again, work on the overstriding part. You make sure that your cadence stays around 90. You can download an app or a metronome, to get that cadence in sequence where you need it to be. The other thing too is you want to make sure that you're landing lightly on your midfoot and not on your heel. You want to roll forward onto the ball of your foot and push off with your toes. Your pushing off sequence in your running form is fantastic, which is getting you to propel forward, and it's going to help your running form and you to be able to finish and crush your run test. But the biggest problem that we're seeing is the landing part of your running form, which is straight on the heel. And I know you're running at a pretty fast speed in this video that we took from the track. But make sure that you're leaning a little bit farther forward. The extension is great, but the landing part needs to be a little bit better. Other than that, fantastic running form. Just a few changes, and I'll see you back on a track workout again